Can constructor be polymorphic? No, constructor cannot be polymorphic. We can have many constructor in a class with different inputs, but they don't behave differently based on the object type like methods. What does mean by abstraction in Java? Abstraction in Java means focusing on what needs to be done, not how to do it. You create a kind of blueprint that tells other parts of the program that actions they can perform without explaining the details. Can you provide example of where abstraction is effectively used in Java libraries? Java uses abstraction in its collection tools. For example, when you use a list, you don't need to know how it stores data, whether as an array list or a linked list. What happens if a class includes an abstract method? A class with an abstract method must itself be abstract. We can't create objects directly from an abstract class. It's meant to be a blueprint for other classes. How does abstraction help in achieving loose coupling in software applications? Abstraction lets us hide complex details and only show what's necessary. This makes it easier to change parts of your program without affecting others, keeping different parts independent and easier to manage. What is interface in Java? Interface is like a blueprint for a class. It defines a set of methods that the class must implement without specifying how these methods should work. What is the difference between an interface and an abstract class in Java? Abstract class achieves partial abstraction, that is from 0 to 100%, whereas interface achieves fully abstraction. Abstraction class can have abstract and non-abstract methods, whereas interface can have only abstract method. Since Java 8, it can have default and static methods also. Can you provide example of when to use an interface versus when to extend a class? Use an interface when we want to list the methods a class should have without dealing with how they work. Use class extension when we want a new class to inherit features and behaviors from an existing class and possibly modify them. How do you use multiple inheritance in Java using interfaces? In Java, we can't inherit features from multiple classes directly, but we can use interfaces for a similar effect. A class can follow the guidelines of many interfaces at once, which lets it combine many sets of capabilities. Can an interface in Java contain static methods? And if so, how they can be used? Yes, interfaces in Java can have static methods, which you can use without creating an instance of the class. What does mean by encapsulation in Java? Encapsulation in Java is like putting important information into a safe. We store data and methods inside a class, and we control who can access or change the data by using a specific method. How encapsulation enhances software security and integrity? Encapsulation keeps important data hidden and safe. It only lets certain parts of our program use this data, which helps prevent mistakes and keeps the data secure from unwanted changes. What is method overloading in Java? Polymorphism in Java means that the same piece of code can do different things depending on what kind of object is dealing with. For example, if you have a method called draw, it might make a circle for a circle object and square for a square object. How does the Java compiler determine which overloaded method to call? When we call an overloaded method, the Java compiler looks at the number and type of arguments you have provided and picks the methods that matches these arguments at best. Is it possible to overload methods that differ only by their return type in Java? In Java, we cannot overload methods by just changing their return type. The methods must differ by their parameters for overloading to be valid. What are the rules for method overloading in Java? The parameters must differ in how many they are and what type they are and the order they are. What is method overriding in Java? To override a method, the new method in the subclass must have the same name, return type and parameters as the method in the parent class. Also, the new method should not be less accessible than the original. What are the rules and conditions for method overriding in Java? In Java, method overriding occurs when a subclass has a method with the same name, return type and parameters as one in its parent class. The method in the subclass replaces the one in the parent class when called. How does the override method, sorry, how does the at override annotation influence method overriding? The at override annotation tells the compiler that the method is supposed to replace one from its superclasses. It's useful because it helps find mistakes if the method does not actually override an existing method from the parent class. What happens if a superclass method is overridden by more than one subclass in Java? If different subclasses override the same method from a superclass, each subclass will have its own version of that method. What is this and super keyword in Java? This is used to refer current class instance as well as static members. Super keyword is used to access methods of the parent class. Can this keyword be assigned a new value in Java? No, this keyword cannot be assigned a new value in Java. It is a read-only reference that always points to the current object. What happens if you attempt to use the super keyword in a class that does not have a superclass? If we attempt to use a super keyword in a class that does not have a superclass, a compilation error occurs. The super keyword is only applicable within the subclasses to refer to members of the superclass. Can this or super keyword be used in a static method? No, though this and super keyword cannot be used in a static methods. Static methods belongs to the class, not instances, and super refers to the superclass objects context, which does not exist in static context. How does super play a role in polymorphism? In Java, the super keyword lets a subclass use methods from its parent class, helping it behave in different ways, and that is nothing but a polymorphic behavior. What is static keyword in Java? The static keyword in Java is used to indicate that a particular member belongs to the class rather than any instance of the class. This means that the static member can be accessed without creating an instance of the class. Can a static block throw an exception? Yes, a static block can throw an exception, but it does not. The exception must be handled with the block itself or declaring using throws class in the class. Can we override a static methods in Java? No, static methods cannot be overridden in Java because method overriding is based on dynamic binding at runtime. Static methods are bundled at compile time.